Bob Jackson has served as mayor of Casa Grande since 2007. He not only talks the talk, but Bob walks the walk. His leadership and bringing partners together has resulted in strengthening our community over some pretty rough times. He is a visionary, and we have been privileged to have such a leader at the helm. Mayor Jackson will be completing his fourth and final term as mayor of Casa Grande this December. He's smiling. I'm a little on this side. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Bob Jackson to the podium.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Helen. You're too nice. I always tell people you're only as good as the people that you work with. And I will tell you, for the 9 years that I've been the mayor, I've been really fortunate to have not only a great council to work with, but a really good staff as well. We had interviews for a department head yesterday, and I was sitting at a lunch table with a couple of the council, and one is in the election process, one is one of the ones that is got 2 more years on their term. But we were talking about how difficult it is sometimes to see progress at the state and federal level with politicians. And we all agreed that what makes a difference, and I will tell you just for the record, there are 2 Democrats, 1 Republican at the table. We all made the comment that the difference at the local level, I think, is that we're solution oriented. You have a problem, how do you fix it? We don't always agree on necessarily how we're going to fix it, but at the end of the day, whatever that decision is, we have the ability to move on and go on to the next thing. And I think that is so valuable. And I will say that in the 25 years that I've lived in Casa Grande, I think that has been a trait of the community that entire time. Certainly as I look back at some of the history of the community, I think that's very typical of where the community has always been. And I think that's why we're as fortunate as we are today to be in the position we're in. I think if you look at a lot of other cities, I came here 25 years ago, the town was 18,000 people. I stand here today, we're a little over 50,000. And there's lots of other communities in Arizona that were of a similar size 25 years ago. And what's special about us, I think what's special is the people that we've had, not only working for us, but the people that live here as well. So, enough editorializing, sorry. First of all, I'd like to thank Helen and the Chamber staff for doing these Biz Outlook lunches. They're a lot of work, and I think certainly the Chamber staff always does a great job of coordinating everything, making it seem like it's seamless. For those business owners that are out here, if you don't take advantage of what the Chamber has to offer, shame on you, because I think there's all kinds of opportunities there with their 4 hours mixers, their after-hour mixers, all of the different programs that they offer. And if you're a new business, my favorite event out of all those are the 4 hours. They're an hour long. I get up early anyway, and it's all about networking your business. So if you've not been to one of those, I would highly recommend you try to make the time to go. She does an hour at the mic, or an hour, yeah, a minute at the mic, which sounds like it's not much time, and in spite of Mr. Rosales, a minute at the mic sometimes is a long time. So it gives you an opportunity to get up and talk with your business. So I just think it's one of those new programs that she started in the last 5 or 6 years that has really paid dividends to the membership. Also like to thank the property staff. I mean, you might imagine I'm out here a lot. I always get a good meal. Russell and Michael and Nancy and the staff out here always take great care of us. So how about a hand for the... I do a State of the City every year, usually in the spring, and I always try to be a little bit different between the State of the City and the Biz Outlook Lunch. And really, the Biz Outlook Lunch ought to be about the businesses and what do we see happening in the community that hopefully you can position yourselves to take advantage of. So as I kind of run through the list today, I hope that you all see something in there that maybe will help you with your business so that you can be more successful as well. I think that, we've always had a goal, at least in the 8 years I've been here, that we want to try to grow the economy faster than we grow the population. And if you can you do that in a community, I believe you end up with a healthy, vibrant community that always has jobs available for newcomers. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that over the 9 years that I've been the mayor, particularly considering some of the economic times that we've been through. And again, I don't want anybody out there to think that I'm taking credit for that, because I just happen to be the guy that gets to get up and talk about it. It's a lot of people that work really hard to make it happen. One of the themes that I always tell people, and I would be remiss if I didn't say that here, I think it's really important that you live, work, and play in the same town. Those of you that know me, I've lived all over the place, lived in big cities, small cities, everything in between. And at the end of the day, if you work in one city and live in another, it's really, really tough to decide how you want to spend your leisure time and leisure dollars. And that's why I think it's so critically important that we provide job employment for people, we have amenities in town so that people can live, work, and play here without having to go anywhere else. And that doesn't mean that you aren't going to go to Phoenix or Tucson, because certainly we do that too. But it's nice to not have to go if you don't want to. When I ran 9 years ago, or almost 10 years ago now, because I was running about this time 10 years ago, there are really three things that I ran on, and hopefully by the end of today I will tie all those pieces together for you. First one was cooperation with our neighbors, and you know, we had kind of a rough spot, particularly with Eloy, over some issues related to Robeson Ranch. We were having some trouble with Maricopa because they had this huge building thing going on. They were a brand new government, and they were trying to figure out what they wanted to do. We're having some issues with Cooley's because we share a boundary with them. And I think that in the 9 years, and I really credit Byron Jackson, the Eloy mayor, for starting this concept. He and I sat down shortly after I got elected and decided it would be good to have the Western Pinal County mayors meet regularly. So we currently meet every other month. The mayors have changed. I'm now the senior citizen on this. We in fact had a meeting Wednesday, and we invited our new mayor-elect, Craig McFarland, well, not elect yet, in a couple of weeks, when not opposed, hopefully, mayor-elect, to join us. And what the mayors that are on that group today have said is that they so enjoy that ability to sit down and visit with each other that they want to keep that going. And I think it's a great legacy for Byron and myself that started that program, and see it continuing 10 years later, changing faces as we go along. We don't really talk about anything necessarily important, but it's nice because we all have the same problems. And if we do have an issue that pops up, if we got it happen, I can pick up the phone and call John Thompson in Coolidge or Christian Price in Maricopa, and we're able to kind of work through those at a high political level, and the staff's worked the details out for us, and so it's really worked out well. I wanted to improve our image in Tucson and Phoenix. And, you know, I think we all have this, or used to have this fear about Phoenix going to roll right over Casa Grande, and we become part of South Phoenix and North Tucson. And the way you do that is you have to go up there and embrace those guys. And we have a presence in Phoenix and Tucson today that we did not have 10 years ago. And some of that is through just being visible. It used to be, and you still hear it sometimes, it used to be people say, well, where are you from? You go, I'm from Casa Grande. They go, oh. Now you tell them you're from Casa Grande, and more often I get, boy, there's a lot of stuff going on in Casa Grande. You guys are doing a really great job. And it's all about that image, because at the end of the day, if we're going to finance some of the things we want to do, that's going to happen out of the dollars that are available in Maricopa in the county. So I'm really proud of the fact that we kind of moved the dial on our image of Phoenix and Tucson, as well as improving our relationships with our neighbors. Second thing I ran on was a better electronic footprint. And think back 10 years ago, I love talking to middle school kids, because if you're 10 years old or 12 years old, you don't remember life without Google or life without a smartphone. Google is about 11 years old, I think now. But you think back 10 years ago, people weren't quite into Facebook and Twitter and websites and things like that. And, you know, Richard Rosales was up here earlier, and I got to tell you, he did such a great job on our website that, again, I was a beneficiary of being in the right place at the right time. We now have a website that is one of the top city websites in the state of Arizona. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we have a police app for your phone. If you haven't got it, you can go on iTunes if you got an Apple phone, and go to Casa Grande Police Department, and it's a free app. Give you updates on what's going on within the police department, and it's just a whole different world today than we were in 10 years ago. And I'm really, again, I'm proud of the fact that we were able to kind of move the dial on that. When I was here 10 years ago, we were talking about trying to televise our council meetings, but we couldn't quite figure out how to get there. Now we televise all of our council meetings. We're talking about starting to televise our work sessions as well. And we're talking about trying to televise some of the critical board and commission groups that we have, because it's so important to try to get that word out. And if you don't have Cox Cable, because we're on Cox Cable 11, you can watch them live online, or you can watch them anytime online. And again, all due to the electronic nature of where the world is today. The third thing I ran on was economic development. And, you know, I think we've seen tremendous job expansion here in town at a time when nobody's growing. And certainly, as I attend events up in Phoenix, it's not lost on me. But in the last 5 or 6 years, we've seen, in no particular order, we've seen Herman Dairy, we've seen Franklin Foods, we've seen Tractor Supply, we've seen expansions at Hexcel, at Acco Polymer, we've seen the addition of a Sam's Club. And if you start combining all those jobs together with some of the other things that have happened, we're probably approaching a couple thousand jobs that have been created in this town in the last 10 years. And I always like to put things in perspective. We have about a workforce of about 20,000 people. So we have increased the jobs in the community 10% over that period of time. Now certainly we've lost some jobs as well, and that's why it's a constant battle for us to continue to work on bringing new businesses and industries into town. I want to give you, I'm going to kind of circle back to economic development in a minute, but I want to give you some just quick updates on some of the things that are going on in the city. We are getting ready to replace all the streetlights in town. We're going to go with LED lights, and for people that were around back in the 1970s, we converted all of our lights from mercury vapor to high pressure sodium, which are what is out there today. High pressure sodium, cheaper to run, cheaper to operate, had better light quality. If you see the difference between an LED light and high pressure sodium, it is unbelievable. It's a truer color, so if you witness a crime scene, for instance, and you think the car is blue under a high pressure sodium, it's really green, the LED lights will give you a much truer picture. We had an interesting presentation at the council on LED lights, and they showed the difference between street scene LED lights and high pressure sodium. Unbelievable the difference. And they are way more efficient, they last longer, and we should be able to pay for that conversion through the savings that we're going to get in the lights over about a 15-year period. The lights are guaranteed for 20 years. So I think it's a big deal to do. It's not going to cost the taxpayers anything, and down the road it will save us some money. We're currently soliciting comments for a master plan at Car McNatt Park. Car McNatt Park is the one by Old Cougar Stadium and the city swimming pool. I would encourage you all to get online and look at the master plan that's being proposed. If you have comments or concerns, please register them. I've got a note this morning. I think we've got, if I remember correctly, we've got almost 1,000 hits on it for comments. So please get on and look at the master plan and weigh in on what you think we're doing. Our community center, and I think if there's a frustration in my tenure, that's probably one of them. This was a voter-approved project back before I got in office, as a matter of fact. And it was always intended to be the last project we worked on. We are currently under design on that project now. It was originally called a multi-generational center, because the buzzword has gone away. It's now called a community center. But it's important to understand that it is multi-generational. It's for toddlers to the senior citizens like myself and everything in between. And so Again, we are out soliciting final comments on that. We hope to break ground on that hopefully shortly after the first of the year. It's about a year, 15 months construction phase. Be located out off of Peart Road, just south of Portson, and I think it'll be a great community amenity for us. I don't know how many of you have occasion to drive over on the west side of town, but if you've driven Phillips Road between Cottonwood Landing and Gila Bend Highway, the road's falling apart. We just approved a contract at our last meeting to have that road reconstructed. So if you're one of the people that frequently drive that like I do, we are aware that the road needs to be fixed, and it's partly due to all the truck traffic that goes up and down it. So hopefully by early February or so, it'll have to be a brand new road. There's been some press recently about some of the I-10 projects, and this is frustration number 2 for me, is the inability to get I-10 widened from here to Phoenix. You know, I've been on the council long enough that when I first came on the council, it was 2-lane all the way through Casa Grande. We have seen some widening to 3 lanes from about Florence Boulevard north to about the Gila River Indian Community boundary. There have been 2 projects approved through the federal government that will be starting within the next 24 months or so that will complete the 3 lanes on I-10 from Casa Grande all the way to Tucson. So it'll pick up that little piece by Interstate 8, and it'll pick up the piece by Picacho Peak. There was a 3rd piece of that grant application that was to start the environmental process on widening I-10 through the Gila River Indian community. And unfortunately, that got cut out of the budget, and so we will continue to work and actively pursue getting that I-10 corridor widened. And I will tell you, not to steal any of Craig's thunder, because he'll be up here next year talking to you. I know that is a big issue on his list of things to do, is to keep working on trying to get I-10 widened. We also have a sewer project that should start soon. It's to extend sewer service across the freeway at Portson Road and serve that whole east side of town. We've got a lot of development out there, including the Phoenix Mart project, that need that sewer across the freeway to be able to start working. And design is essentially done. We're trying to get all the money lined up to get it built. Being built, just so everybody understands, it's being built with what's called development impact fees for the most part. And those are fees that are paid by newcomers into town. We put it in a bank account, we have enough to go out and build the project. So there is no local resident money involved with the construction of that I-10 sewer project. A lot of little private projects going on as you drive around town. Caliche Senior Housing Project on the corner of Cottonwood and Peart. If you drive by there, you see it's coming up out of the ground pretty quickly. It is an assisted living facility. It will have provisions for Alzheimer's and dementia patients moving forward. There is a similar project on the southeast corner of Rodeo and Treckle. They've had some hiccups in terms of some of the infrastructure issues that they're trying to resolve. I think they've got them all resolved now. They should start working on that within the next couple of months as well. And it also is a senior assisted living. I've seen a theme here. You know, we've got a lot of, we're all getting older. We also, I get questions all the time about what's going up next to that Valero station on Florence Boulevard, and I would say it's a car wash. What's going on in front of Office Max, that's going to be a Dunkin' Donuts. So if you're a Dunkin' Donuts fan, yeah, I'm with you. I get it. I like Dunkin'. That's what we need, another donut shop. We also have a proposal that we're looking at right now for a new Jack in the Box on the southeast corner of Cottonwood Canal. So if you're a Jack in the Box fan, we've got another one coming. And I'm glad to see some work happening on Canal Avenue. I think it's really underutilized corridor, so it's nice to see some new stuff taking place there. I always like to talk a little bit about our revenue picture, because I think for business people, this is an indication maybe of what is going on from a local economy standpoint. And I will tell you what we're seeing is a steady trend upward with our sales tax revenue. And what that means is that people are spending more money locally, or they're spending more money, period. But we have seen a fairly steady increase in our sales tax revenue over the last year on a You know, we had the infamous housing bubble burst. That affected our property taxes as well, because we as a council have always maintained that we don't want to have a tax rate higher than 99 cents. Well, if the assessed valuation dropped 20%, that means our tax revenues dropped 20%. Happy to tell you that the assessed valuations are climbing again. If you're a homeowner, you're probably seeing your home worth close to what it was 5 years ago when the economy stopped climbing. So I think that's great news. We also are starting to see some interest in the housing business. I know one of our planners yesterday was talking to the Pinal County Realtors Association. I'm sure his reception was the best it's been in a long time, because we just, Monday night, as a matter of fact, I think it was Monday night, approved a brand new subdivision, first one we've probably done in 4 or 5 years, so on the south side of McCartney Road, east between Pierre Road and the freeway, 270 lots. We historically have had 2 builders that have kind of weathered the economic downturn, Meritage Homes and D.R. Horton. D.R. Horton has rebranded themselves locally as Elements, so if you see a sign that says Elements, that really was D.R. Horton. But we now have seen 2 new production builders that have been around a long time and starting to show an interest in Casa Grande. One of them has picked up some existing lots that weren't built on over by Mission Royale, and the other one is looking at some lots out north of town by our brand new fire station on McCartney Road. So good news, when production builders want to come in, that means that they see a market here that they haven't seen in a long time. I want to talk, you know, I debated about whether I want to talk about this or not, but I'm going to talk about it. Okay, this is my last talk. I can say what I want. No, I shouldn't say. There's been a lot written recently about the Casa Grande Performance Institute. And there's a lot of different ways you can look at that project. And what's happened, I think, to some degree, is we kind of get buried in where we are today, and we don't remember where we were when we started this 7 or 8 years ago. 7 or 8 years ago, we knew we needed to build some soccer fields. We didn't have an adequate supply of them. We needed to build at least 4. We wanted to build 6 so we'd have some capacity for youth football and youth soccer programs. Didn't really have a location. We looked at a couple of them that had huge infrastructure issues. About the same time, the owner of the Francisco Grande approached us and said, hey, we have an idea. Would you guys be interested in maybe building your facility out there and letting us run it? So we said, you know, after a lot of, didn't happen as quickly as I'll make it out to be, but we said yes. So we built the Performance Institute. There's 8 fields out there. All of them are lit. There's some misperception out there that we built it for a fledgling football league. That's not true. The fledgling football league helped us accelerate the construction of it, but we would have built it anyway. And one of the things they left us with was that they lighted all the fields for us at no charge. So the city paid about $20 million for the facility. We pay about $2 million a year in debt service for it. What do we get for that? I'm going to tell you some numbers, and you can make your own decision whether it's a good deal or a bad deal. We don't pay for any maintenance of the fields at all. No water, fertilizer, overseeding, don't pay for the lights on the field, nothing. If we were to maintain those fields that are out there, we would, number one, not maintain them to the level that the Francisco Grande does, but it would probably cost us between $600,000 and $800,000 a year for water, fertilizer, grass seed, mowing, all that stuff you do with the grass. So there's $600,000 a year that we would have had to spend if we had built the field someplace else. We also, if we had built the field someplace else, probably would have cost us $8 or $9 million to build them. The debt service on that would probably be about $800,000. So $800,000 in debt service, we would have incurred anyway. $600,000 in maintenance and operation that somebody else is paying for now. We get about $200,000 a year in rent out of that building. And that's where the misconception comes from. When we originally talked to them, we had hoped that we'd be making $1 million a year in revenue, and it just hasn't happened for a variety of reasons. But $200,000 a year in rent coming back to the city of Casa Grande. Do that arithmetic, you're now at, what is that, 1.4 million, $1.6 million. So the deal doesn't look quite as bad as it's been made out to be in a lot of the stories that have been written about it. And the thing that I think most people don't recognize, and it's in my mind one of the critical pieces, in that same period of time, we've seen our room tax revenue rise from about $80,000 a year to over $300,000 a year. And while I would never attribute all that to coming out of the Grande. If you go out there for an event, they host soccer tournaments from the Southwest out there. We'll have 2,000 or 3,000 people in town at those events. They host a state cross-country meet out there. Again, we'll have 1,500, 2,000 people. I know the Holiday Inn has a table over here. Talk to Hector about whether that has made a difference in those rooms or not. So now you add $300,000 to that 1.6 we already have, and that deal's not looking nearly as bad as everybody thought it was. They just opened up the ASU Prep Academy out there. We expect to generate about $75,000 a year in city revenue from that. The deal's looking better all the time. It's not to say that we could do better, and I think we as a council realize we need to take another look at that. My only point about talking about it today is that it's a much better deal that is being portrayed by a lot of people. So when you read something about it next time, think, hey, wait a minute, we heard a little different story. You can decide who's right. I don't really care. I wanted to circle back on this whole economic development thing because it's really changed in the last 10 years. Way more complicated than it used to be. The people that are looking to relocate or expand in an area are way more sophisticated than they used to be. The deals are much harder to do. The incentive packages really rely on lots of different people. And you can believe whether you need them or don't need them, but I will tell you in the marketplace today, if you don't have incentives, you will have no economic development. As a local government, we're pretty well restricted on what we can and cannot do. But what we've found is that we are now partnering more and more with the county and the state to put together packages that will attract new industries into our area. We're lucky in Casa Grande, we have the only rail-served, shovel-ready industrial park in Arizona. And I think that if you recognize that, right now we are actively working on 4 economic development prospects that have unbelievable number of jobs, unbelievable investment in the local community. And I think we're going to land at least half of those. What's happened is that because we're doing so much of that ourselves now, if we can get them in the door, we usually have a really good sales program for them. And I think we met with a group a week ago Monday. They weren't even going to come to Casa Grande, they were out of Tucson. They came, we talked to them. They called us the next day and wanted more information. And I think it's because we've been able to really hone our skills in presenting our community to these prospects. And I think that there's a couple of things that really have helped us get there. And it really kind of reflects, I'm at the end of my tenure, thank God. And there are a couple of things that I think really made, as I look back and say, what am I most proud of? First and foremost, I think, is the Casa Grande Mountain Trail System, because it was a project that was done without any city dollars in it at all. Volunteer labor, Ameritrade. We have 14 miles of trails up there today that we've never had before. The wastewater treatment plant expansion, and people go, well, why is that? That is what has allowed us to bring in companies like Tractor Supply, Erman Dairy, Franklin Foods, and all of the prospects we're talking to right now that having sewer capacity is huge. It takes about 5 years to build it, but if you don't have it, you're never going to get an industrial prospect to come and look at you. I had occasion Saturday morning to go talk to the Casa Grande Youth Commission. Youth Commission is made up of kids from 8th grade to senior in high school, bright, smart, engaged. I'm really encouraged that if that's the future of Casa Grande, we're in great shape. But I worry every day about creating jobs those kids want to come back for. And when we asked them that question, we only had 1 kid out of 15 that said he planned to come back. So we as business owners and government, we need to make sure that we figure out what we can do today to make sure that we have a millennial workforce. Because the baby boomers are getting ready to retire. If we don't figure out what makes millennials tick, we're going to be in tough shape. I know one of the things the city recently did that wasn't without its fair share of pain. We created a leave program called paid time off. We used to have a traditional sick leave vacation, and every employee under the age of 40, I believe, converted to that PTO program. It tells you something about the workforce that's coming up in the future. It's not about how many hours I work. It's all about how much time do I get off and what are my working conditions going to be like. We need to fix that, and we need to be aware of it, and we need to really work on how we're going to improve it. So, my time is up. I would just like to say thank you for allowing me to be the mayor of the last 9 years. And I hope that we've made enough of a difference that it will be a better place for Craig and his team, whoever that ends up being. We also are fortunate. We've just gone through a city manager change. New city manager is a gentleman named Larry Raines. Larry's been in town about 10 years. And while Jim Thompson will be a hard act to follow, I have no doubt that Larry Raines will do a great job. And I encourage, I wish Craig all the luck in the world, and whoever ends up being on the council, I hope you continue to try to do what's right for the community and put pettiness aside and move the community forward. So thank you all.
Thank you very much, and how much we appreciate and love you, what can we say. Again, thank you for being with us here today and sharing. And so we have a couple of gifts to give you. Santa. Okay. First of all, we know that you like to read, Bob.
As long as the book isn't too hard.
Yeah, no, this is, actually, we're here to present you with Dr. Seuss' book called You Were Only Old Once. And we have personalized it with photographs for you, not so much the editorial, but the photographs. So enjoy reading.
So what you're telling me is I can't really read this to the kids in the mayor's reading club.
Yeah, I think you could. It's a real Dr. Seuss book, by the way. The other thing that we have here, we believe, I believe anyway, that you had been influenced at an early age to follow the path in the field of engineering. So as a memento of your childhood and probably your earliest entry into the field of engineering, we're presenting you with your own set of Lincoln. The other thing, too, is to keep you, help getting you out of the kitchen every once in a while. We have something that you and your wife, Judy, we hope you enjoy, so bon appetit.